بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. الفعل المضارع وفاعله, the present verb and its doer. What is the present verbs? الفعل المضارع يدل refers to على. يدل على is an expression that means refers to. حدث action في الزمن الحاضر, in the present time. حدث في الزمن الحاضر, key expression here. حدث action in the present time. Sometimes, however, the فعل مضارع or the present verb can be used for the future. We'll talk about that later on, inshallah. ويبتدئ, and it begins with ب أحد, one of من أحرف الأربعة التالية. It begins with one of the four following or the following four letters. Every mudari must begin with al-hamza or an-noon or al-ya or ta. One of these four letters must come in the beginning of every mudari. Hamza, noon, ya, ta. Let's look at some examples. Yashrabu Zaydun. What does it begin with? It begins with the ya. Tashrabu Fatima. It begins with a ta. Why? Because ya indicates masculinity, ta indicates femininity. In general, Zaydun is the fa'il. Zayd is the one who's drinking. And it's ismun zahir. Ismun zahir is a noun that is not a pronoun. It's a noun that is not a pronoun. There are many different types of. So when translated literally, ismun zahir means clear or apparent or manifest noun. But a more grammatically correct understanding is to say that this word ism, this word zaydun, is a noun that is not a pronoun. Because pronouns, when they act like doers, they are attached or invisible. So when the grammarians say ismun zahirun, they're talking about a noun such as Zayd, Fatima, al-Muslimun, and other nouns that appear after as a separate word after the fi'l. So once again, al-mudari refers to a hadath action fi zaman al-hadir, and sometimes it can be switched to al-mustaqbal, and we will talk about that soon, inshallah. And every mudari must begin with hamza, noon, ya, or ta. And the fa'il of a mudari is either an ismun zahirun, which is a noun that's not a pronoun, or a pronoun that's connected or hidden. So in these two examples, we've looked at how a mudari can have an ism zahir as the fa'il, such as Zayd and Fatima. In the next set of examples, we'll look at how mudari behaves when connected to a pronoun or a hidden pronoun. The first two examples were following the same order that we learned in Easy Introduction to Arabic, ana and nahnu. Ana ashrabu, the hamza beginning implies that the fa'il is ana. The hamza beginning implies that the fa'il is ana. But I don't see any red here. I don't see the fa'il in red here. That's because the fa'il is dhamir mustatir, invisible, hidden, implied, understood pronoun. So if the fa'il of a mudari is ana, how do I know? Because I don't see ana, right? How do I know the fa'il is ana? It's because of the beginning. The beginning of this mudari is hamza. If the beginning of the mudari is hamza, in this case, there's a fatha on the hamza. In the case of forms 2, 3, and 4, there's a dhamma. And we'll see how forms 5 through 10 and up to 14 work in the QL3 advanced morphology. The point is that the mudari must begin with hamza, and that hamza is going to be a fatha or a dhamma. And this hamza, you can think of it as a reminder that the fa'il is ana mustatir, hidden. And the same thing with nashrabu, the noon beginning indicates that the fa'il is nahnu, damirun mustatirun, invisible, hidden, implied pronoun, a pronoun that is understood to be there. Every fi'il must have a fa'il except for kana and her sisters and other af'al that are like kana. Those are deficient. Regular verbs, which are the majority of the verbs in the Arabic language, must have a fa'il. If you don't see a fa'il in red, that means it's invisible, hidden. Tashrabu, again, the fa'il is anta because of the ta beginning and it's damir mustatir. Okay, so the first three examples of mudari have fa'il that is damirun mustatirun. Okay, so you don't say, let's say your name is Zaid. You don't say ashrabu Zaidun. You don't say that. That's wrong. You just say ashrabu. You don't say ashrabu Zaidun, assuming you're Zaid. Similarly, you don't say, like, let's say there is your group has a name. You don't put that. The fa'il is necessarily hidden for ashrabu, nashrabu, and tashrabu. However, for the remaining ones, the fa'il is visible and you can see it in red. Tashrabina, the fa'il is literally that ya that you see here, this ya. I've stretched it out a little bit so it becomes more easy to read. It doesn't have to be stretched out like that. Normally it would be like this, tashrabina, but I stretched it out in the textbook to sort of make it more, apparent that this is the fa'il. So tashrabina, the fa'il is ya, and that ya literally means anti and is damir muttasil. Notice muttasil, not mustatir. And every damir mustatir, every fa'il that is damir mustatir, we will write it in this course, in my textbooks. You will find it in parentheses. So the fa'il of is not anta, it's hidden anta. The fa'il here is not nahnu, it's hidden nahnu. I mean mustatir. The fa'il here is not ana, it's hidden ana, implied ana. Okay, so that's why I put it in parentheses. Just trying to emphasize that the fa'il is hidden. Tashrabani for antuma, the fa'il is alif. Literally this alif that you see here, that alif is the fa'il and it's damir muttasil. Antum tashrabun, the fa'il is waw. Literally that waw is a pronoun, it's a connected pronoun. So this ya is a connected pronoun, it means anti. This alif is a connected pronoun, it means antuma. And this waw is a connected pronoun, which means antum. And the fa'il is damir muttasil. So it's going to be damir muttasil in most of the cases. And finally, when we get to antunna, that noon literally is the fa'il. It's a connected pronoun, which means antunna. So once again, the fa'il here is hidden anta, not anta, hidden anta. Very important to understand that. And so on a quiz, I'll ask you, what's the fa'il? And I'll give you three choices, for example. One of the choices says anta without parenthesis. Another choice is anta with parenthesis. Right? And another choice might say something else as a distractor. So you choose the choice which is with parenthesis. The parenthesis tells me that you understand it's mustatir, hidden, mustatir. This ya means anti, this alif means antuma, this waw means antum, and this noon means antunna. These are all connected pronouns. This ya is a noun. What kind of noun? Pronoun. What does it mean? Anti. It's just a connected version of anti. And you can see it's mentioned here for your reference. This alif is a noun. What kind of noun? Pronoun. What does it mean? It means antuma. This waw is a noun. What kind of noun? Pronoun. What kind of pronoun? Connected pronoun. All of them are connected pronouns. And what does it mean? It means antum. It means antum. Similarly, the noon that you see in the mudari is literally, it's a noun. What kind of noun? Pronoun. What kind of pronoun? Damir muttasil, connected pronoun. What does it mean? It means antunna. Very important for you to know these technical details because they will really help with advanced grammatical analysis. And then moving on to the last part. So what we've done is al-mutakallim, the first person speaker, ana nahnu. Then we did the 5 cases of al-mukhatab. Al-mukhatab, as you know, is the second person, the person you're doing khitab of, the person you're addressing, anta, anti, antuma, antum, antunna. Now, finally, we have the ghaib, al-ghaib, the third person, huwa, yashrabu. Again, I don't see any red. If I don't see any red, what does that mean? The fa'il is dhamir mustatir, hidden. Okay, the fa'il is dhamir mustatir, hidden. So tashrabu hiya, the fa'il is dhamir mustatir, hiya, it's hidden. So again, these two are mustatir. So we have 5 situations where the mudari has a fa'il that is not explicit. It's mustatir, it's understood, implied, implicit. What are the 5 situations? The first 3, ana nahnu anta, ana nahnu anta. They all have fa'il that is mustatir, dhamir mustatir, dhamir mustatir, dhamir mustatir. And also huwa hiya are also dhamir mustatir, okay? Dhamir mustatir, dhamir mustatir. Now compare this to al-madi. In the case of al-madi, there were only 2 situations where the fa'il is dhamir mustatir. And what were the 2 situations? Do you remember? Let's go back to al-madi quickly. The 2 situations where al-madi has dhamir mustatir is huwa and hiya. Huwa and hiya. Huwa and hiya. But in the case of al-mudari, there are 5 situations in which the fa'il is dhamir mustatir. And they are ana nahnu anta and huwa hiya. So remember that, okay? So these doers or files must be written in parentheses to indicate that it's hidden. So here's an interesting situation that comes up, okay? If I say yashrabu and I stop, the fa'il is huwa. But if I say yashrabu and I don't stop, I say zaydun, now the fa'il is not huwa. The fa'il is zayd, okay? So compare this situation, yashrabu, and I stop, period. The fa'il is huwa. In this situation, the fa'il is not huwa. The fa'il is ismun zahirun. It's a noun that appears after it, clear, present noun that appears after it, that is not a pronoun, and it's zayd. And this is exactly what we saw first. Yashrabu zaydun and tashrabu Fatima. So if I remove zaydun, what's the fa'il now? The fa'il is not zayd, the fa'il is huwa, mustatir. And I have to put it in parentheses. Oops. Okay. Similarly, if I remove Fatima and I stop, the fa'il is not Fatima anymore. The fa'il is hiya, dhamir mustatir. Okay. So I'm going to fix that and put the textbook back to what it was like. So very important to understand that. Next, you have yashrabani, tashrabani. The fa'il for yashrabani is huma, is for huma, and the fa'il is alif. So the fa'il is alif. What kind of word is alif? It's a noun. What kind of noun? Pronoun. What kind of pronoun? Dhamir muttasil. And what does it mean? It means huma. Both of these alifs that are in red mean huma. The first one is huma for 2 boys. The second one is huma for 2 girls. But if you have a couple, male and female, then you just go with yashrabani, because tashrabani cannot be shared. It's for exclusive. It's reserved exclusively for the female. So we're back to connected pronouns. Dhamir muttasil, dhamir muttasil, dhamir muttasil. Okay. Yashrabuna, the fa'il is wow. What is this fa'il? Wow. What kind of word is wow? A noun. What kind of noun? Pronoun. What kind of pronoun? Dhamir muttasil. What does it mean? It means hum. So wow is just a connected version of hum. Here, yashrabna, the na is the fa'il. What kind of word is this? Noun. What kind of noun? Pronoun. What kind of pronoun? Dhamir muttasil. What does it mean? It means hunna. So in these last 3 examples, the fa'il is in red. It's explicitly mentioned and it's connected pronoun, dhamir muttasil, dhamir muttasil, dhamir muttasil. One thing you may have noticed is that we have wow here for whom, but we also had wow here for antum. So how do you differentiate? Well, the beginning of the mudari tells me that the beginning of the mudari is ta, therefore the fa'il, the wow means antum. If the beginning of mudari is ya, the fa'il wow means whom. So the beginning matters. Beginning makes a difference between first person, second person, and third person. The same thing with noon. You see noon here, it means hunna, but you see noon here, It doesn't mean hunna, it means antunna. How do I know that? Well, the beginning of mudari is ta, and ta is for al-mukhatab, second person. Whereas the beginning of mudari here is ya. Therefore, it's hunna. Another thing you may have noticed is the word tashrabu is repeated. Tashrabu is for hiya, and tashrabu we also see for anta. So you may be wondering, wait a minute, how come tashrabu is for anta and tashrabu is also for hiya? Well, looks like the Arabs ran out of the variations, so they decided to share it. So the question is, okay, then how can I tell the difference? Well, the context. If after tashrabu, you see a female name like tashrabu Fatima, then tashrabu is for the feminine. But if there's no female name, maybe there is a story, there's a context. Always there's going to be a context that will help you clarify. It's it's nearly impossible for you to be confused whether tashrabu means hiya or anta. There's always going to be context in the Quran, hadith, everywhere. Okay. And the same thing for yashrabani, tashrabani. If you look at tashrabani here, tashrabani is for huma, which means two girls, right? It's for two girls. You also see tashrabani for antuma here. Antuma. So again, the same problems. Like, how come antuma is tashrabani and huma for two girls is also tashrabani? Context will make it clear. It's shared word, but the context will make it clear. It's nearly impossible for you to be confused about what a given sentence is talking about. It's always going to be clear, made plenty clear using the context. That's al-mudari. In the next lesson, we'll look at how to change the time of mudari from al-hadir present to mustaqbal. One last comment I'll make, and we talked about this in Easy Introduction to Arabic many times, so I didn't mention it, but just as a review, notice the fatha on the ra here. Every ra has a fatha. The ra has a fatha. Ra is a fatha. Ra is a fatha, fatha, fatha. All of these ras of mudari have fatha. That's Samahi. That's just how it is. Some mudaris, ra is the second root letter. The first root letter is sheen. And we've already talked about all of this in Easy Intro to Arabic Book 1. So I'm mentioning it just as a review. The first root letter is sheen, the second root letter is ra, and the third root letter is ba. All these harakat, the fatha in the beginning of ya, in the beginning with the ya, let me go start over here. All these harakat that you see here, the fatha, sukun, ra, fatha, and dhamma, all these harakats are based on rule, except for the harakah of the middle root letter, which has no rule. You just have to know it. You just have to memorize it, which is kind of a bit of an inconvenient thing for people who are learning Arabic. But that's just how it is. It's called Sama'i. What you hear from the Arabs is what you memorize. Don't ask me why there's a fatha. You can ask me why there's a fatha on the hamza because form 1 mudari begins with a hamza. You can ask me why there's a sukoon on the sheen because that's a rule. The first root letter of mudari must have a sukoon. You can ask me why there's a dhamma because it represents a grammatical case ending, marfu, which we have not studied, so you're not responsible for it. You can ask me about why of any one of these harakat of any mudari except for, don't ask me why there's a fatha on the ra. I don't know. This is called sama'i. That's just how the Arabs sort of randomly decided that the ra will have a fatha. And so we're stuck with it. What you hear is what you memorize. Don't ask me why. This is called sama'i. Sama'i is what you hear. It's not rule-based, it's not predictable. But the other harakat, the fatha, sukoon, and the dhamma, they are rule-based, they are predictable. Once I know the rule, and I can apply that rule to all mudaris of that form. So that's a question you will see on the test. The question will ask you, why is there fatha on the ra, or the second root letter of the mudari? Is it sama'i or qiyasi? Is it something you just have to know it from the dictionary? Or is it something that can be rule-based or predictable? It's not predictable. And the same thing with al-madi, I didn't mention it because I thought since we have done Easy Introduction to Arabic, you might know it, but let me just go ahead and mention it as a review. The ra has a kasra here. Every single al-madi for shariba has a kasra. But other madis like kataba don't have a kasra for the second root letter. All other second root letters here have a, for the kataba, the second root letter is fatha. Fatha. But for shariba, the second root letter is al kasra. Why? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. That's just how the Arabs randomly decided. It's called sama'i. There's no rule. None of the linguists, grammarians, none of the dozens of grammar books will ever tell you why there's a kasra, because they don't know. Nobody knows why. That's just how it is. So you just have to memorize that. That's kind of a bit of an inconvenient fact, but you just have to memorize that. Why is it not sharaba? I don't know. That's the Arabs decided it's going to be shariba. That's it. It's sama'i. There doesn't seem to be any logical rule behind it. But the fatha of the madi has a rule. The fatha of the ba has its rule base is predictable. Okay. So that's an important point. And we've already talked about this in easy intro, so I just wanted to refresh your memory about that. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.